In the theater of international diplomacy, every gesture, every absence, and every empty seat carries a message. Sometimes, what doesn't happen is just as significant as what does. An empty chair can speak volumes, echoing missed opportunities, unspoken grievances, and the weight of unresolved tensions. This winter, Beijing's silence is deafening. The city, usually bustling with diplomatic activity, now stands as a symbol of a chilling pause in regional engagement. China has flatly rejected a much-anticipated trilateral summit with Japan and South Korea, proposed by Tokyo for January 2026. The decision, abrupt and unequivocal, sent shockwaves through diplomatic circles. This isn't a minor hiccup, it's a clear sign that relations between China and Japan have plunged into a deep freeze. Years of simmering disputes over territory, trade, and history have now crystallized into open diplomatic stalemate. The fallout ripples far beyond East Asia, threatening global supply chains, economic stability, and the military balance across the Indo-Pacific. The world's factories and shipping lanes depend on cooperation between these giants. The summit was meant to restart high-level dialogue after years of tension, but its cancellation leaves a vacuum now filled with suspicion, uncertainty, and a growing sense of mistrust among neighbors. China, Japan, and South Korea together represent nearly a quarter of the world's economic output. Their economies are deeply intertwined, with millions of jobs and livelihoods hanging in the balance. A breakdown in communication at the top threatens this engine, creating uncertainty for businesses and markets worldwide. Investors, manufacturers, and ordinary citizens now watch anxiously, wondering what the future holds. As of December 2, 2025, the diplomatic landscape in East Asia is more precarious than it has been in years. Old alliances are being tested, and new rivalries are emerging in the shadows of failed talks. The story of the summit that never was is still unfolding, and its consequences are global. In a world more connected than ever, the absence of dialogue in East Asia is a warning to us all. Silence, too, can change the course of history. China and Japan's relationship is a tapestry woven from centuries of cultural exchange, periods of intense rivalry, and moments of uneasy cooperation. Their shared history stretches back over 1,000 years, marked by the flow of ideas, art, and religion across the sea, but also by episodes of suspicion and competition for regional influence. The scars of Japan's World War II aggression still fuel mistrust, often derailing progress. For many in China, memories of wartime suffering remain vivid, shaping public sentiment and political rhetoric to this day. Annual commemorations and visits to memorials serve as reminders of a painful past that is never far from the surface. Despite strong trade ties, China and Japan are among each other's largest trading partners. Their political relationship remains fragile, prone to sudden downturns over territorial disputes and security issues. Economic interdependence has not erased deep-seated suspicions or resolved long-standing grievances. The trilateral summit framework, launched in 2008 with South Korea, was meant to transcend these disputes. It aimed to create a platform for dialogue, cooperation, and crisis management, offering hope that shared interests could overcome historical animosities. But the mechanism is as fragile as the relationships it was designed to mend, often postponed or canceled when tensions flare. Even minor provocations or political missteps can bring progress to a halt, leaving diplomatic channels silent and hopes for reconciliation dashed. A 2012 island dispute suspended talks for over 3 years, showing the summit as a barometer, not a driver, of stability. The fate of these meetings often reflects the broader mood between Beijing and Tokyo, rather than shaping it. The recent attempt to revive the summit after a long hiatus was seen as a hopeful thaw. Leaders exchanged cautious handshakes and diplomatic smiles, signaling a willingness to engage, if only temporarily. But deep mistrust and growing strategic divergence between Beijing and Tokyo proved too powerful, plunging the relationship back into confrontation. Competing visions for the region and unresolved historical grievances continue to cast a long shadow. The cycle of hope and disappointment continues, as each new attempt at dialogue is met with both anticipation and skepticism, leaving the future of China-Japan relations as uncertain as ever. Every diplomatic firestorm begins with a spark. Sometimes that spark is a single phrase, uttered at the right moment, in the right place, and heard by the world. In the high-stakes arena of international politics, words can be as powerful as weapons, and their impact can ripple across continents. In November 2025, Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi declared that Chinese military action against Taiwan could be a survival-threatening situation for Japan. This was not just a warning, it was a signal to the world that Japan was prepared to take unprecedented steps if the regional balance was threatened. This phrase is a legal trigger, allowing Japan to deploy its military in defense of an ally, even if not directly attacked. It marked a dramatic shift in Japan's post-war policy, reflecting growing anxieties about security in East Asia and the evolving nature of modern alliances. For Beijing, this was a direct provocation and a sign of Japan's alignment with the U.S. strategy to contain China. China's response was swift, stern protests, accusations of interference, and a barrage of official statements condemning Japan's stance. The diplomatic fallout was immediate, culminating in a public snub at the G20 summit. World leaders watched as tensions played out in real time, with Japan and China pointedly avoiding each other on the global stage. The foundation of trust, already shaky, was shattered. Decades of careful diplomacy seemed to unravel in a matter of days, leaving both sides wary and defensive. The trilateral summit, once seen as a chance for dialogue, was formally rejected. Hopes for reconciliation faded as both governments dug in their heels. China's message was clear: there can be no business as usual. The diplomatic chill deepened, with both sides signaling that compromise was off the table for now. One phrase set off a chain reaction, freezing diplomatic contact and pushing the two nations further apart. In the world of geopolitics, words can redraw boundaries, and sometimes they can change the course of history. Beijing's response went far beyond words. China issued travel warnings, sparking mass cancellations by Chinese tourists, hitting Japan's tourism industry hard. The campaign expanded, seafood imports from Japan were halted, reviving economic pain for Japanese exporters. This was economic coercion, not spontaneous public reaction. Cultural ties suffered too. Japanese films were blocked in China, and city-level exchanges suspended. Even a planned meeting of culture ministers was postponed. Each move was a calculated part of a broader strategy to isolate Tokyo and force a policy rethink. The message was clear: confrontation has costs. Beijing's retaliation was swift, targeted, and comprehensive. The economic fallout is profound. The seafood ban signals to all Japanese industries that any product could be targeted, creating uncertainty and discouraging investment. The collapse in Chinese tourism is a severe blow, especially for small businesses. The suspension of trilateral talks stalls progress on a crucial free trade agreement, leaving the region's economic architecture fragmented. The ripple effects extend to global supply chains, especially in electronics and automotive industries. A breakdown in trust can lead to costly disruptions and inflation for consumers worldwide. The political spat in East Asia is not distant. It could make your next phone or car more expensive. Economic pain is spreading far beyond the region. The diplomatic freeze has grave security implications. Without high-level communication, the risk of miscalculation in the East China Sea rises sharply. Prime Minister Takaichi's Taiwan statement locks Japan more tightly into any potential conflict, confirming Beijing's suspicions of encirclement. The paralysis of the trilateral framework leaves key challenges, like North Korea's nuclear threat, unaddressed. With China and Japan at odds, a unified front is impossible. The rift deepens bloc-based geopolitics. The US-led alliance on one side, China and Russia on the other. The collapse of the summit reinforces a region splitting into rival camps. Smaller nations are forced to choose sides, raising tensions. The chasm is widening and the bridges are burning. As dialogue with Beijing collapsed, Tokyo turned to Washington. In late October 2025, President Trump and Prime Minister Takaichi signed a landmark pact to secure rare earths and critical minerals, directly challenging China's dominance. This agreement is more than trade. It's a strategic move to build resilient supply chains and reduce dependence on China. By pooling resources, the US and Japan aim to compete with China's state-backed industry. The pact signals a deepening US-Japan alliance, moving beyond military ties into economic security. For Beijing, Japan now looks like a frontline state in America's campaign to contain China. The closer Tokyo moves to Washington, the further it drifts from Beijing. The Minerals Pact is both a symptom and a cause of the growing divide. Experts warn the lack of stable communication channels between China and Japan is perilous. The current silence increases the risk of miscalculation, especially in contested waters. Analysts predict an indefinite freeze in trilateral dialogue, with little hope for a quick thaw. The escalating US-China rivalry leaves Japan and South Korea caught in the middle, making independent diplomacy nearly impossible. Beijing sees any move towards the US as hostile, further eroding trust. The trilateral dream is being crushed by a bipolar reality. The best-case scenario is a slow, quiet reset. The worst is an unstoppable path to conflict. The stakes could not be higher. The path to de-escalation is anything but clear. East Asia stands at a crossroads. The summit's rejection is a flashing red light for global stability, revealing just how fragile China-Japan relations are. Economic cooperation is stalled, military risk is rising, and the region is splitting into rival blocs. The US-Japan alliance grows stronger as China-Japan ties freeze. Mending fences will require political courage and a commitment to dialogue. Quiet, reliable communication channels must be rebuilt. Both sides must recognize their futures are linked, and that conflict would be catastrophic. Peace is a process, not a given. The empty chair at the summit is a challenge to all of us. Pay attention, and demand better from our leaders. What do you think is the next step? Let us know in the comments and subscribe for more coverage.